Good morning. It's a new dawn here in Cyprus. 19th, no, I hope it isn't the 19th. It's the 18th of March. Otherwise, I've got a big problem. If it's the 19th, that's when my flight is. So I'm hoping it's the 18th. And what I want to do is continue with the subject of analogies, not make too big a deal of them, because what I've realized overnight, I've actually realized where my challenge lies in explaining analogies to you. And I'm going to come to that in a minute. But first of all, what I'd like to say is I don't plan to edit the end of that last video where I basically struggled to communicate with you about multiple types of analogy. And I've realized why. And that is that analogies are all about communicating from what's inside your head to help another person understand your thoughts. You want them to think in a particular way, and you want them to understand your feelings. Now, your thoughts and your feelings are very, very personal. They're embedded deep down in your subconscious. And the choice of analogies that you use doesn't actually come at the moment from your conscious mind. It comes up from your subconscious mind. Subconscious has learned that certain ways of expression are effective at communicating your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings. And the struggle I was having was that it's just the same for me. My analogies, they're embedded in my subconscious. And although what I'm trying to do with this whole process is help your conscious mind tap the fantastic resources that lie down there in your subconscious at one level or another, it would appear that what I found out yesterday is these analogies, they're a bit deeper than I thought in my subconscious. And it's quite possible they're deep, deep, deep in your subconscious. And you're going to have a bit of a journey getting them out of your subconscious, understanding them, and being able to use them and communicate with them and select the right analogy and use it in the right way. So that's kind of a journey that you're going to have to do for yourself, because only you know what's familiar to you, and only you know your feelings, the depth of your feelings, the kind of feelings you have. I think I finished up that video, the last few seconds, talking about opening the magic box of analogies. So that was just at the very same moment that I was struggling to think of an analogy to communicate with you. I didn't even think of a box and finding a key to a box and unlocking it. It came into my last closing minutes or moments, seconds of that presentation or lecture, simply because it popped up from my subconscious. So I'm going to leave the end of that video there. I think it's a very, very interesting object lesson. I've got a couple more points that I want to go on before I'm going to suggest to you an exercise to help you discover what goes on in your own subconscious as far as analogies is concerned. So you're watching this now, you're still watching. Now, I think that's great, because my belief is that by leaving that last video there with the kind of rubbishy end to it, there's a lot of people who've been following some of these lectures and this growing process who would have said, well, they would have just stopped watching at that point, and they won't be watching anymore. They will use their time for other things. Who knows what? That they may go off and watch cat and kiddie fail YouTube things. I don't know. They may go and study economics. Who knows? They may go and do some fabulous piece of charitable work. I don't know what they're going to do. What I do know is those people who've left this process, and it doesn't bother me at all, because expectations of what a video should look like from beginning to end. Now, I haven't set those expectations. They're expectations that are set in their own mind. If you watch YouTubes on how to do a good podcast and so on, they bang on about the right background, the right camera, the right lighting, yada, 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 all that stuff. Now, I don't do that, and I don't want to do it because I want it to be my communication with you. I want it to be as close as possible to the real world. When we meet people, we're not polished usually, unless we're going to stand up in front of a big audience, in which case professionalism's extremely important. But that's delivering a lecture or a presentation or whatever. That's not what I'm trying to do for you, with you. Not for you is wrong, with you. Okay? So the expectation that they brought to the party, if you like, was that they were going to see yet another polished professional presentation by somebody who purports to know everything about a particular subject. Well, do you know, I think perhaps I do know an awful lot about interpersonal dynamics and soft skills. And I believe that because I have been paid, and I mentioned this before, I've been paid by global corporations to develop course contents on this. And I've delivered it, I've trained other people to deliver it, and I've personally worked with over 1,000 young people. So I've enjoyed that. I know it works. So I do know what I'm doing. I may not come over as a professional YouTube blogger, but I know what I'm doing. And the other thing is, I want to be authentic. Now, a polished thing which someone's rehearsed, I don't actually see how that can be genuinely authentic. I've mentioned my son Alexander. He says, and he teaches impro, by the way, improvisation. And he says, when you improvise, you hit a different part of your mind. You tap different circuits. You unearth different knowledge. So he and his group will go up on stage and they will do a 1 hour dramatic play based on maybe one or at most 2 or 3 words from the audience. So at the beginning, the audience shouts out 2 or 3 words, and then off they go. And for an hour, they will produce a fantastic drama that the audience, I can honestly say, the audience always loves it. People like to see spontaneity. We lost maybe half of the people who have been watching because it didn't meet their expectations. When I stumbled at the end of that last video, they couldn't cope with that. It didn't match their expectations, and off they went. So be it. Now, the other thing is, that stumbling, they were probably sitting there waiting to write down maybe 5, 6, 10 analogies that they could use. So they were looking for the answers. Now, you've probably realized by now, I tend not to give answers. I like to work together with people to find answers that are the right answers for both people. You see these YouTubes about the 10 best ways to make money, or the 5 biggest this, or the, whatever. It's all the quickest way to become a millionaire. It's all rubbish, isn't it? And you know that. If it was that easy, then everybody would do it. But they don't. What those things are all about is what another of my sons calls clickbait, which is trying to get you to click on it. And then if they get enough clicks, and some of this stuff gets millions of clicks, then an advertiser who will actually be invading the content and shoving something like, buy this soap or whatever it is, in your face. They pay them money to do it. So they do the clickbait. Or it may be subscribe to this channel, and then suddenly you find someone recommends a particular product to you that they're actually paid to recommend by the sponsor, and suggests you buy it, and they'll offer you a wonderful price. You can see I'm a bit cynical about all that stuff, but it's rooted in expectations and people who want instant answers. Now, I don't do instant answers. I'm glad you're with me. I do help you find the answers. And that's why I want to come on to this exercise to do with analogies. How am I going to help you discover the analogies you use, observe the analogies other people use, and synthesize what is perhaps best practice out there in the world. You'll see people who give political speeches, orators, dramas. If you ever watch any court drama on TV, I don't mean medieval sort of history courts, I mean criminal courts or whatever. You'll see that the barristers and stuff in the real world and in the drama world, they use quite flowery language. They use a lot of analogies. So the exercise I'd like to suggest to you is based on that. I would like to suggest to you that you pick 2 or 3 pieces of writing, maybe in a magazine or a newspaper or even a book that you like, and analyze how that writer or presenter is communicating their ideas to you. And there's 3 things. My suggestion for this exercise is you get yourself a red pen, a green pen, and a blue pen. And perhaps with the red pen, you underline the actual facts that are in that particular story. With the blue pen, you could underline opinions. So facts and opinions are different things. This bucket can hold 3 gallons of water. That's a fact. I actually don't think it's a very good bucket. It's not good enough for me. I don't like it very much. That's an opinion. And then with the third pen, I don't know, we've done red and blue. With a green pen, pick analogies and underline the analogies that the writer is using. And maybe even another color for the analogies is which analogies is the writer using to convey a thought process, a path of thought that they want you to follow, and which analogies that they're using to convey emotion, to help them share with you how they feel or how they want you to feel about a particular subject. So that's an exercise, and I think you could use it as a growing exercise, because do it initially, and then over the next month or 2, think about your use of analogies as you talk to people, and as you try and become more effective in the way you communicate your thoughts. You might find that a particular type of analogy really suits your personality. I don't know. And particular ways of thinking that are common in your culture, rather than me suggesting what's familiar to you and what's familiar to your audience. Because it's absolutely crucial when you do choose an analogy, whether it's to help someone with a thinking path or a feeling path, it's got to be in a familiar context, familiar to you and familiar to them. That's the whole point. You're leveraging that familiarity. And that's why I struggled at the end of that last video. Because to be honest, it's so deep in my subconscious anyway that I struggled to lift it up. I did do overnight. Sleeping on it overnight is just a fabulous way to address any problem. Strongly recommend it. Strongly recommend you have a pen and a piece of paper at your bedside, so that when you wake up in the morning, you will find for maybe 10 minutes, there's a flow of information that your subconscious has thought, yeah, this stuff might be useful. I'm going to feed it up into my conscious personality's mind so that they can use it. It's prompts, it's suggestions, sometimes it's even solutions that your subconscious has come up with. Capture those, and you will find that even that simple exercise will empower you. So I think that's enough on analogies. They are super. I could say it's a magic box. It's a garden of fruits or whatever, I think you're getting the point. So we'll stop now and we'll move on to another topic. Thanks a lot.
Graham Lamb, the survivor of an open heart surgery.
Graham Lamb, the survivor of Dresser syndrome.
Graham Lamb, the survivor of aplastic anemia.
And the last one? No. Third one. Graham Lamb, the survivor of PHS.
PNH.
PNH.
Yay! That'll do. Let's open heart surgery, Dresden, St. Baxter, and PNH. And thank you, all my consultants.
That's the best.
Είναι ο ύμνος του φετινού καλοκαιριού, γι' αυτό το βάζω.